Toastmasters.
Good morning.
I'm going to kind of go out on a limb here. I think it might be safe to say that I'm probably the longest Toastmasters to complete the CC award. It's a pretty safe bet. And I think if there's not already an award for this, there definitely should not be. But in my defense, these speeches have been really tough, and especially this last one for a self-proclaimed just ordinary accountant. The purpose is to inspire the audience. So I opened up that manual and looked at it again and put it down, looked at it again, and I started to come up with a lot of ideas and examples of how I live by and just beautiful messages that I wanted to share with you. But then as I started to break out the pieces and discern and how it was I came about these little epiphanies and things that I live by, they were just kind of from ordinary, normal things. I never had the experience of going out and winning a medal, which is wonderful, or just doing anything really just phenomenal that impacted these things that I live by, or philosophies. So I tried to reverse engineer it. I tried to think of the hardest, most challenging, tremendous thing that I've gone through and the lessons that I've gleaned. And you know what I realized is from those experiences, I learned a lot about myself. I did learn some lessons, but it was from the ordinary, kind of everyday things where I really pull those nuggets, those beautiful things that I live by and I embrace. And so I stalled a little bit, maybe a lot. And finally I started to come to the realization of, well, what really is ordinary? What's ordinary? And I started to believe that ordinary, it's really real. It's beautiful. It's critical and integral to our growth and development as individuals. Ordinary things, ordinary people, ordinary times. It's the aggregation of these little ordinary everyday things that make tremendous, beautiful, extraordinary, wonderful, extraordinary lives. And that's what I figured out. And it made me think of a story I liked reading when I was a kid, and it was a story about a little velveteen rabbit. And in this story, this little velveteen rabbit, he's given as a gift to a little boy for Christmas, and the little boy puts the velveteen rabbit aside because he wanted to play with his more modern battery-operated toys. And this little velveteen rabbit finds himself lying in the nursery next to what's called the old skin horse. It's the oldest toy in the whole nursery, the wisest, the most worn out toy. And during his time, he had lots of conversations with this wise old skin horse. And one day he asks the skin horse, well, how do I become real? And the skin horse, he thinks, and he says, you become real by being loved. And the rabbit thought, and he said, does it hurt to become real? And the skin horse says, yeah, sometimes it hurts to become real. And he said, being real, it's not something that happens overnight. It's just a slow, very ordinary, everyday process that you go through, and you'll become really, truly loved. The hair on your body might become worn, and your eyes might pop out a little bit, and your legs may creak, but you become more and more beautiful in the eyes of those that love you. And so one night it's storming, and the boy's Nana, she comes in and she finds the little bunny and gives the bunny to the little boy. The little boy's comforted by little bunnies sleeping there, comforting him, and night after night the boy squeezes this bunny really tight and sleeps with him and squishes him and just loves on him. And soon enough the little rabbit becomes the boy's favorite toy, and he's outside having picnics with the little boy and just really enjoying his time with the little boy. And the little rabbit becomes real to that little boy in that little boy's eyes. So a few years later, the little boy comes down with the scarlet fever, and all of the things in the little boy's room, the doctor orders to be burned, and his room to be sanitized, including the little rabbit. And the little rabbit, one night, he's out, finds himself out in the garden in a little sack, and he's sadly contemplating on his life and his time with his little boy. And he cries one real tear. So, scientists, the brilliant scientists of our world and researchers, they've been researching the human perception of what we perceive as being physically attractive or beautiful, the scientific definition of beautiful. And they've been able to break it down into 3 parts. It's symmetry, repetition, and average. So symmetry, balance, represents physical health. Repetition, the more I see you, the more attractive that we get, so we have a chance, everybody. And average, and what they found with average is there was a particular study, it was done in Ireland, but they took the images of 40 different women of Irish descent of the same age bracket, and they compiled or composited a lot of the features of these women into one composite photo, and they presented that photograph along with the 40 other photographs to the study participants, and they asked them, which photographs do you find more beautiful or physically attractive? And what they profoundly or predominantly found, I guess it must be statistically significantly found, was that the composite photograph was actually the most preferred photograph. And it doesn't get more ordinary than that, does it? And I think this concept, though, also applies to the velveteen kind of beauty, that inside kind of beauty. You know, I grew up going to the Catholic Church, and during my time in the Catholic Church, I was exposed to so many beautiful stories and life lessons. And I will say, with all the rituals, it was a little bit of a confusing time, lots of sitting and standing in the Mass. And to this day, I do not understand why during Lent on Fridays, when Catholics are not supposed to eat meat, like, why is fish not meat? I don't get it. Never complain going up, happy to get the protein, but it doesn't make sense. But there's this concept, the reason I bring this up is there's this concept in the Catholic faith, they use a liturgical calendar, and one of the components in the liturgical calendar, or a big component, 34 weeks in the liturgical calendar, is considered ordinary time. And it's also associated, they'll adorn the Catholic Church with green, color green, which is the color of growth and hope. And it's also referred to as the Epiphany, the season of Epiphany. And finally, as an adult, I had an epiphany of my own, and I finally understand, as an adult, the meaning behind this whole ordinary time thing. And it's that the simple, the gentle growth that we experience, and it's a time to contemplate on the mysteries of life. And also it tells us things in the year that counts going in cycles, that man's made for seasons, and seasons are made for man. So if you think about it, there's spring, summer, fall, and winter. And spring, it's associated with newness, summer, strength, fall, decline, winter, stop. And just with man, our summer or time, or our spring, our time of birth and newness, we're in a hurry to grow old. During our summer strength, we're too busy to do anything. During fall's decline, we're in a state of agony over lost purpose or meaning. And then in winter's twilight, we want to race back to the time of youth. So, pretty ordinary concepts, right? So I'd like to leave you with a final thought. It's from William Martin. It says, parents, Don't ask your children to strive for extraordinary lives. Although the striving, it may seem admirable, it's foolish. Instead, try to teach your children the beauty and the wonder of an ordinary life. Teach them the simple pleasure of tasting tomatoes, apples, or pears. Show them how to cry when a pet or a person dies. Teach them the infinite pleasure in the touch of a hand, and open their eyes to the wonder of an ordinary life. The extraordinary will take care of itself.